So that confused me a lot, and I think it was about 2 years in, I was like, oh, I don't even know anymore. Like, okay, so it was kind of good. It was a good feeling, and it was nice that I declared my faith in Jesus and all this stuff. But I'm reading the Bible, and I got to Genesis 6, and what's going on? Who are the Nephilim? And when I ask people around church, they just laugh at me, or they don't know. When I ask pastors, they don't know. So I look it up online, and the only people talking about it are these New Age teachers. I was looking at, I watched, man, I must have watched hundreds of hours of Project Camelot. I don't know if you guys know Project Camelot, but they interviewed all these different people, and it was kind of a small movement of insider conspiracy minded folks. And it was a couple years after Zeitgeist, the original one, came out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a movie that was like, oh yeah, the government, oh yeah, the economy, one world economy thing. But the whole Jesus section was kind of confusing, because it was like, wait, so is Jesus just another dying and rising God, or what's going on there? And so I was really confused, and it was actually hindering, my relationship with my fiance, and we got married in 2008, actually. So she was my wife at that point. And man, it was just a rough time. And it actually probably about 2 years worth of just pain. And I really almost sabotaged the marriage, because I was confused. We had to, one of the things that was really difficult on us was we had to move back in with my parents, just because of the financial situation. And my parents are very secular, they're very, they're not religious or Christian or anything like that. Japanese culture, they're sort of, they were already sort of down on the fact that I got married at, I think I was 25. And, I married a woman with a child, and I don't have a job. I'm not a doctor, right? It's the whole Asian thing.
That's
not a doctor.
It is funny, because Mike, Mike, Asian Man Records, Mike Park. Yeah. I've met him, and he's somebody that I used to look up to a lot before I came back to Christ. And he went through the same thing with his family. Like, they wanted him to be a doctor, and he was like, no, I want to, do music. And so he started a label,
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I wish that was probably one of those contacts that would have been nice to have when I was doing music. But yeah, it's just fascinating, because they were open enough to allow us to come in and live, stay with them and stuff until we got back on our feet. But at the same time, you can tell that they were sort of resentful of, like, the whole thing about, like, marrying somebody random to them anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, they're taking me to Christian church, and what's going on with it, I think my sister was probably pretty upset, because she comes home from college and she's got a whole set of people that are just living at the house, all of a sudden, not just me, but, my wife and a stepdaughter, and we had a couple dogs, and it was just a chaotic time. So, everything's spinning out of control and all this stuff. And I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of like, I don't know about this Christianity thing. I'm committed to the marriage. I'm not going to, like, drop that. But boy, what, am I stuck with somebody with a belief system that really doesn't jive with what I'm believing in and stuff? And I was listening to Coast, like, every night, like most people who are truth seekers seem to do. And I was listening, and this guy named L.A. Marzulli was on. And he was talking about the Nephilim, and he was talking about UFOs, and he was talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I should check him out. And he kept talking about, like, the guidebook to the supernatural, and this Yeshua and all this stuff. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Is he talking about the Bible? Because that'd be really trippy if he is. And come to find out that he's totally talking about the Bible. And, I decided to kind of follow his work. So I read the Nephilim trilogy, which is a fiction book. But I mean, it was really nice reading that book, because, there's a whole moment in the story where, the main character there comes to Jesus, and, but he's experiencing all these crazy things, and, like, seeing underground facilities, and, catching the eye of a gray, and, like, all this crazy stuff. So it was like, man, this is, like, exactly what I was looking for. So I started following LA's work, and his stuff. I was, with following his stuff, I found his interview on A View from the Bunker with Derek Gilbert. And I was like, man, this show's awesome. This guy's totally, like, a Christian who's, like, talking about this, and he's making sense of all this stuff. It's not just, kind of run of the mill type stuff. It's actually making sense, and he's actually pointing to scripture to make his point. And that really opened me up to all kinds of people: Tom Horn, Chris Pinto, Rob Skiba's work, and Steve Quayle, who is interesting because, I had found Steve Quayle's work before, because anytime you look up, UFO, alien, Nephilim stuff, you're going to run into Steve Quayle, right? But I would listen to his stuff, and you could tell he was a Christian, because he'd be like, praise God and praise Jesus and all that stuff. But he just sounded nuts to me. He just sounded like way too crazy. So I was kind of like, he makes sense, but it's kind of crazy. It's kind of out there. It's kind of weird. But then I started listening to Future Quake and PID Radio. And that's when I ran into Chris White and his ministry. Mm-hmm. And he did Zeitgeist Debunked. And I was like, wow, he just ripped that thing apart. And then that sort of tailspinned into all sorts of different things with Russ Dizdar. I was able to make sense of people like Fritz Springmeier and John Todd and Bill Cooper, Kent Hovind. These are people that have been talking about this stuff for a really long time, but just, I guess didn't have the sort of platform, if you will. So that really got me into this whole area of like, okay, I'm really thinking like this is making sense now. And excuse me. And I was listening to Nowhere to Run with Chris White one day, and he started talking about how he was watching these, one of these ghost hunter shows, and with his wife, and he was like, I really want to do a video on that, because that was his thing, right? He was doing YouTube videos, and he's like, I really want to do a video on that, but I just don't have the time right now. If anyone out there listening wants to do a video about ghost hunting, just do it and let me know. I'll help you promote it, all this stuff. So I was like, I could probably do that. So as someone who was an audio file, right, I knew how to edit audio quite a bit. I was like, I can probably do video. I don't think it'll be that hard. So got into making video, and I found that the editing process isn't hard, but the formatting was it drove me nuts. It was like, what? I don't get it. Video, MP, whatever, converting this and that. And I mean, it takes forever to render, but I got it done. I got the truth behind ghost hunting video done, and I showed it to Chris White, and he was totally into it. He helped promote it and everything. And then I went on this little spree of making these like 5-minute videos, like these short snippets. And the first one I made was called Exposing the New World Order. It was just a little 5-minute thing. And then I did Satanic Origin of Secret Societies. And then the third one I did was The Truth About America's Founding Fathers, because Chris Pinto's work had really impacted me.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so I made those little 3 videos, and people were kind of checking it out and whatnot. But then I decided, I'm like, hey, you know what? Why not? Why not make like a full-length video? So I started working on Age of Deceit, and it was weird because I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into, right? This like huge project, and I'm doing this on my own, and I was kind of struggling with it. And around that time, I heard a guy named Douglas Hamp on L.A. Marzulli's Acceleration Radio, and he, I looked him up, and I was like, oh, Costa Mesa, that's like down the street from where I am. So I decided to send him an email, and then we talked on the phone, and we were like on the same page about Freemasonry and all this stuff. So I said, hey man, I'm making this film. I'd love to interview you for the film. So he's like, yeah, just come to my office. And he was working at the Calvary Chapel down here. So I went in there and we chatted. I brought this flip camera. They don't make flips anymore, but
yeah, I think I still have one of those sitting around somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm filming Doug, and we're doing this thing, and the camera dies, and I'm like, oh man, I don't have extra batteries, but I have my iPhone, so I pull out my iPhone.
Really?
And, yeah. So that interview that you see on Age of Deceit is recorded on my iPhone, which is crazy.
I wondered what you were using.
What was that?
I wondered what you were using.
That audio is definitely down.
Oh, the audio is terrible. Terrible audio.
Yeah.
No offense. It was just like...
No. I totally understand. And trust me, as someone who's audio, into audio, I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just awful. And like, if actually I had to cut out some parts, but there's like there's the original raw footage. There's like gardeners outside that start working and stuff. And it was like just terrible. Hence the background music is so loud to cover up the gardeners. But anyway, yeah, that, you know, kind of came together. And then as I was working on the film, you know, I heard about the Branson conference. It was called Future Congress. And it was like, you know, it was Tom Horn and Dave Hitt. They put together this huge conference, and I'm like, oh man, I got to go. Branson, Missouri, but I got to go. And you know, my wife and I were able to figure out a way to get me there, and that was like the first time I was like, wow, you know, this is like real church for me. These are like actual believers that are, you know, thinking the same way I am, and I just felt totally on fire. And that when I got home, that was when I started to see like all the issues, not issues, if you will, but just, I guess, the lukewarmness of my own church.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already working at my own church, and I was already seen as kind of like the crazy one, right? Like kind of the, you know,
fringe,
weird guy talking about weird stuff. And, after I came home from the conference, I was about 30 minutes into the video, into Age of Deceit. And I just said, you know, I got to start over. So I completely started over. I think the conference was in July, and then in September I posted the final cut of the movie Fallen Angels and the New World Order. And you know, I was like, oh, I'm done with that. Cool. You know, some people can watch it. I hope it helps. Whatever. You know, put it on YouTube. And then, you know, within a few weeks, it was like, you know, people were like posting it on their blogs and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, oh gosh, you know, 1,000 hits. Cool. Oh, whoa, 10,000. Oh my gosh, like 30,000 hits. What's going on with this thing? So, you know, it was crazy. I mean, I totally credit the Lord for that, because I didn't do any marketing. I didn't do any of that stuff. It was just, you know, just put it out there. And it just kind of went, you know, not super viral, but viral for a movie that's 2.5 hours long that talks about these issues. And man, it's been a blessing since then, because, you know, that started Canary Cry Radio. After that point, the story with me and Basil is that, you know, we were both techs, and we actually worked in the same office back to back. Like I was doing audio stuff and he was doing video stuff, and we never really talked, but we were in one of these staff meetings, and I think it was like during, gosh, what was it? Occupy Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And the conversation of Occupy Wall Street came up, and we took over the conversation, right? It's supposed to be some devotional about something, and we just started to talk back and forth, and everybody else is going, what are they talking about? So we continued the conversation after the meeting, and we found out that we were, you know, into a lot of the similar stuff. And he was really, I think for Basil, he was at that point where he was discovering all of the conspiracy stuff, the Illuminati and the, you know,
secret societies and all that.
Yeah. And you know, that run, I remember it too, was like, oh my gosh, I got to tell somebody, this is crazy, you know?
Yep.
So he was going through that, but it was cool because I was sort of able to guide him and say like, look, you know, I know the stuff is crazy and you want to tell everybody about it, but you kind of just have to like, you know, take a steady pace at it, because you know, after a while it becomes a norm, you know, and you start seeing things, but you can't just like run around and start telling people, because there's a tactic, right? There's a way you go about doing that. But so we said, hey, you know what? We talk about this stuff all the time at work, and we always get yelled at because we're talking and not working. Why don't we start a podcast? And he's like, oh, I'm down. And so we put it together, and we came up with the name Canary Cry Radio. And we put together our first episode. He put together all the art. And, you know, I did some of the website stuff and all the audio for the podcast, and we were off and running. And it's kind of interesting because if you listen back to like the first few episodes, it's like we're kind of serious and we're like, oh yes, the government, they're bad, they're evil, yes. And then as we go along, we just start getting goofier and goofier.
Yeah.
And I think we're finding that too. We're starting to loosen up a little bit more.
Yeah.
This is only our 6th interview, so you know, we're still kind of in that serious stage, but we had a little fun on the last one.
Yeah, we're not doing the same thing that you are, though. You guys really do a great job at putting together your own topical episodes, and I really enjoy. I enjoyed the sound episode myself.
Oh, cool. But, yeah. I mean, that came about a little bit later. That didn't happen right away. You know, we wanted to talk about all the intense stuff with technocracy and transhumanism, and those things are important. But we found that like, you know, that stuff we can talk about that, and we can we can, beat a dead horse, so to speak, or we can start talking about some different things that are just as important, and we can still incorporate the conspiracy aspect of it,